Hello, I'm here to read the second part of the Zodiac part of this post, focused on Aries and Caliphos. So I included this wheel directly from the Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation, the book by doctors George W. Carey and Inez Perry. I don't like to read. I'll admit it to anyone who wants to hear it. And maybe even if they don't, I don't like to read. That's why I like making these little videos of posts that I make because I do love to put things together, but I don't always like to read things online. So I'm like, if you're like me and don't like to read, here we are. And so I did read this book and I loved it. Hence why I'm doing this series, but also that is where I got this image from. And I put a little blue star over here next to Aries. It says cerebrum, spinal cord, sensory nerves, face to lower jaw, and then potassium phosphate, which is calcium phosphoricum. Caliphos, cell salt number 6. And we'll get there to talk about the cell salt. I did not include in the first post the glyph, so I did in this one a couple different versions of it. One a little bit more pointed and um vertical, and then the one at the bottom more curled. It's more ram looking, maybe. Aries and iron. The alchemical metal connected to Aries is iron. Iron is known to represent strength and aggression, but this is a spectrum. Iron is malleable through fire. What is malleable? This means capable of being shaped or stretched by pressure. So this is not aggression, let's say, through this means that it's just pejorative. It's again, it's a spectrum. Iron is connected to our blood and much more. And interestingly, it has a lot to do with the cell salt fair phos, which is actually connected to Pisces. So the force of fiery Aries is easily stimulated, and like iron, it rusts in certain conditions. It must be handled with care. Aries and iron are also connected to the planet Mars, and Mars is the Roman god of war, planet of energy, action, and desire, survival instinct, and it can be thought of as the animal nature of man, which we see displayed through various archetypes of Aries and its nature. So this is many ways of, again, having something be a fuller, wider spectrum potentially, and less black and whiteness in certain judgment. Mars is often referred to as the red planet because the iron oxide prevalent on its surface gives it a reddish appearance. The red planet can be tied to youth and masculinity, and the symbol for the planet is used as the symbol for the male gender in many arenas. So that's it right there. Also, a side note about Chinese astrology is we just entered in the beginning of 2024 um, Yan 9. It's these 20-year periods, which is a part of a feng shui cycle, that focus and emphasize different themes. And there's a lot more lore in that area if you want to go explore. But Yan 8 was connected to youth and masculinity, males even. And Yan 9 is connected more to women. You could even say just femininity there, not just the gender and middle age. So in 2024, I turned 35. That is the year considered to be, or the age considered to be middle age, the beginning, age 35. So take it all with a grain of salt there. But I thought that was, I don't know, I don't think it was interesting. I just wanted to bring it up because I call everything interesting. So it is what it is. Let's just continue. And it might be a little loud in the background during this video. We'll see. Aries and iron continued, with Aries' anatomical allocation being the head, including the eyes. We can see how iron is also iron, and it is iron. The maybe look to where your Mars is in your chart or where your Aries energy is and how this can benefit you in earning in some way. It's another spectrum. So in the 88 series on YouTube, I go much deeper into layers with iron and its connection to Pisces per that cell salt approach. Some Mars themes: accidental death, accidents, action, aggression, assertion, competition, death, desire, trailblazing, energy, fire, the heat, immaturity, mutation, passion, pioneering, power, self-reliance. While Aries is primarily a Mars-ruled sign, we can also see how this sign is co-ruled by the sun. Aries can be described as active, tenacious, and headstrong, and the sign itself rules the head anatomically, as well as willpower as a general theme. With Aries co-ruled by the sun, we see its connection to our inner light from above. The Lord receives the bread and wine for the supper in the upper chamber, meaning that the inner sun, the optical thalamus, is receiving the dew. Aries is the first of the three fire signs, therefore, it has to do with the first manifestation or appearance of life. Spirit confined within the physical vessel, and especially in a particular part, its own house. This world cranium, our whole world sort of existing through planes of means that, we can see. Aries being the house of God is the spirit in man, houses and contains the brain being the organ of thought. So, yeah. We have some from Ascension Glossary: alchemy, purification, and calcination. The introduction stage of spiritual initiation is represented in the constellation of Aries. This is the beginning of the alchemical purification of one's consciousness through the process of exposure to fire elements and or applying intense heat. The process of heating the body and aura to a high temperature, causing loss of moisture, reduction or oxidation, and breaking down into simpler substances to prepare to move blockages and debris. This is the activation process of the Kundalini fire purification of the flesh, bone, and blood. Kundalini is activated in the tailbone and begins to travel upward in the central vertical channel and chakras. This reoccurs many times during the spiritual initiation stages towards enlightenment, but always follows the alchemical principles to conclusion. Take that with a grain of salt, too. Okay. I do like this part. Not that I didn't like that part, but I sometimes feel that certain themes are forced under the guise of help, but really there's some ego there, fitting for Aries energy, where I'm not trying to just judge and be like, my way's the best, which would also be fitting for Aries energy to a degree. But there's something about forcing me to see alchemy and astrology in a certain way that I guess my own Aquarian nature comes out, and then I become very contrarian and like I don't know. So I don't know if Kundalini is all the same thing per what is talked about with alchemy or even esoteric biochemistry. Um, some of these things are not as literal. Maybe some things are. It's up to you to decide. Law of mentalism. So again, at this first layer, this first dimensional plane, this root chakra energy to a degree. I love saying to a degree. All things share a connection with the universal mind and therefore are subjected to the law of structure that creates all things. Whether it is referred to as the mind of God or the mind of all one, this is the pure consciousness of infinite intelligence that expresses its principle through natural laws, spiritual laws that govern our creation. All things are made of intelligent energy that are expressed through the energetic substance, frequency, vibration, blueprint, and an active power of motion, which takes direction from the instruction sets set forth and created from the mind. All things are created from a state of mind, a quality of thought, and that which has been co-created within a system of energy, such as planetary consciousness. Remember that world cranium, the holography, the echoes of holography. Everything that we observe in the manifested worlds are the result of a mental state, a belief system that has preceded it. When an individual observes the interaction of thoughts within thoughts and neutrally observes all thoughts and actions, this law begins to be understood and applied to personal well being and spiritual growth. It is critical to master this law first in order to influence all other natural laws, as the mental plane has the ability to influence what happens in multiple dimensional planes all simultaneously. Our thoughts influence multiple planes within our own light body and in the outer realities. They have an energetic effect as well as a spiritual effect, which we may not see with our visible eyes, but takes place in the subtle forces around us, permeating into multiple stations of identities and realities. Comprehending this principle allows a spiritual seeker to apply their mental body functions to serve their highest expression, which influences all other natural laws and allows us to interact and interconnect with many other layers of intelligent energy. These are the consciousness aspects of other selves that exist in other dimensions, such as soul, monad, and avatar, as well as the intelligence aspects that exist within our own physical body, heart, and emotional layers. It is wise to remember thoughts are things. They are the seeds from which our garden grows, and in order to change the harvest, we must first plant new seeds. Okay, bye.